Hi, my name is Sarah Schachterly, and this is my sixth set of book critiques for children's literature. For this set of book critiques, I decided to focus on traditional literature. And before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to define this genre. It actually contains many different types of stories, including folktales, myths, epics, legends, tall tales, cumulative tales, humorous tales, beast stories, magic and fairy tales, pourquoi stories that explain why, realistic, fables, and religious stories. All of these types of stories have in common that they have been passed down through oral storytelling to highlight a culture or tradition of origin. They have no identifiable author, but have eventually been written down by different authors. Okay, the first book for this book critique is called The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Tales by John Skieska and Lane Smith, and this was a Caldecott Honor book. I would classify this under folktales, humorous stories, and fractured folktales. It is a collection of short, retold tales with humorous and silly twists. And even the end papers, table of contents, and flyleaf all have different text arrangements and narrative elements, making it an exciting read from cover to cover. Each of the individual stories in this book can be taken apart and used in an oral retelling. The second book is called Rumpelstiltskin, retold by Paul Zelinsky, and this was a Caldecott Honor book and ALA notable book. I would classify this under folktale and magic story. It is the classic tale of the miller's daughter who must spin straw into gold in 3 days, and it is illustrated through beautiful oil paintings. The third book is called St. George and the Dragon, retold by Margaret Hodges, and this won the Caldecott Medal. I would classify this under religious stories or beast story because of the dragon. In this story, the princess seeks the help of a knight to destroy the dragon that is terrorizing her kingdom. The knight eventually becomes St. George, the patron saint of England. The last book on this slide is Alexander and the Wind-Up Mouse by Leo Lionni, and this is a Caldecott Honor book. I would classify this under a fable or animal story for younger children, probably grades pre-K through 2. This fable contains a lesson about friendship between Alexander, the real mouse, and a wind-up mouse. I thought of a possible interdisciplinary use for this book in a science lesson and the difference between living and non-living things. My feature book for this set of book critiques is called Lan Po Po, a Red Riding Hood story from China by Ed Young, and this won the Caldecott Medal. I would classify this as folktale, beast story, or multicultural literature. In this Chinese version of the classic Red Riding Hood story, a mother leaves her 3 girls at home to visit their grandmother. A wolf comes disguised as the grandmother, and the girls must outsmart the wolf to protect themselves. I think that this book could be applied in a social studies lesson on early Chinese and Eastern civilizations. As a class, I would talk about the style of illustrations in Lan Po Po and Oriental art, as the illustrations are modeled after the style of Oriental panel art. We would talk about how art represents a culture, and then I would ask students to research independently a different dynasty each, and post an example on Padlet of this dynasty's art and discuss why it is representative of that dynasty. I have an example on Padlet here. I researched the Han Dynasty and found that they would often create porcelain horses to decorate tombs, as military expansion was a trademark of this dynasty. This is an example of what I would want my students to create with this Padlet. The second interdisciplinary use for this book could be in a reading and writing lesson. As a class, we would compare and contrast the story of Lan Po Po with the classic Red Riding Hood story, using a Venn diagram to help us. Then, as an extension, I would ask students to choose their own favorite fairy tale and rewrite it in a new way. They might find a Venn diagram helpful as a brainstorming process. And the website creately.com is a tool that students can use to create these Venn diagrams and invite others to collaborate on them as well. Here's an example of a Venn diagram that I made on Creately. Thank you for watching this set of book critiques, and I'll see you next week.